Rezero Season 3 Episode 7, the newest of heroes and the most ancient of heroes, referring of course to Regulus for his exceptional treatment of women. The episode starts off with Al having gone absolutely beast mode on some witch cultists, and we don't get to see the actual fight because it was off-screened, but we do get to see that he is near an apparatus which is very similar to what you would expect a Watergate to look like on the inside. And I'm not here to point fingers or say anybody did something or who did what. I'm not here to cause intrigue and instigate problems where they do not exist, but all I'm saying is, think about it. We get some very fishy lines from Al, and no, it's not because he's near the water. The jokes are getting lamer by the week. It's because he says something very eerie like, "This isn't what I was told," which, what do you mean you were told? By whom? What were you told? And this line, of course, would make a lot more sense if you have watched the Rezero Extra Time where Al reveals his big secret, the scene that was cut from Volume 4, the scene that I am still coping like mad that they will somehow include in the main episodes, because this is a 29-minute episode. Why not just slide this in like a 10-second scene, just a tiny piece of dialogue at some point? I really wish they do it, but I don't know if they will at this point, but we'll see. More interestingly, Al proceeds to pick up the witch cultist's iPhone and then proceeds to have a video call with Emilia, who is so excited at this new technology that she does not seem to realize that she is the one who's in fact kidnapped and that she also requires saving. She's super worried about relaying all of this information to Subaru and the gang and tells Subaru to take care of Beatrice, that she forgets that she also needs to be taken care of. After Al accurately reminds her that she is also in quite a precarious situation, Emilia says she has no doubt that Subaru will save her, and this is quite cute, honestly, because the cute couple just knows they're there for each other, and how wholesome. It warms my cold dark heart. But also it is quite revealing of the character progression. Subaru has proved time and time again that despite having seemingly no real capabilities that would be useful in combat or dangerous situations, he seems to get the job done, and that's what it counts, and he has this proven track record that he will always save Emilia no matter what, and so by this point she believes him. Al tries to be a little bit of a bro, a little bit of a wingman. He tries to compare Subaru to a prince in shining armor, and Emilia, she does not really reject the idea, it's more that she does not even comprehend it. She does not understand even the comparison. So while she does have some affection for Subaru, she is still quite dense, and I don't know if it's a bad thing. Even if she did understand the comparison, I don't think Subaru is very prince-like. He would be more like a jester. A jester would be quite a cool comparison, and also a good one for Al as well, so they have a lot in common. We snap back to the government office, and Subaru asks Anastasia if she knows how to use this, and obviously it's quite a difficult situation that they're in, but you know that the teenage mind in Subaru is just wondering about doing some funny gag or a dirty message or something in the megaphone. It's just something that everybody would think, even if it's not the appropriate situation for it. Al comes in and delivers the information that Emilia just gave to him in a scene that was off-screen, which I do appreciate. I hate it when characters just reiterate information we just saw 2 minutes ago. So even if the episode is already 29 minutes, so I know that they were probably cutting everything that they could, these types of cuts I do appreciate, because honestly, we the audience are just a tiny bit smart. Hopefully if we're watching Rezero fans are super smart. Everybody knows this. It's a study that was done by quite a reputable establishment that notified everyone that Rezero fans are average IQ, just way above every other fandom. I do not want to offend any other fandoms. Please do not come after me. This is a joke. Perhaps, maybe, do not come after me. I'm sorry. And then we get Garfield just popping in on screen, just throwing himself on Subaru's chest, just curling up on him like a panda around a bamboo tree, and you know, just boys being boys. Have you never jumped into your homie and caressed him and really sniffed his neck, give him a little kiss on the cheek and just rubbed on him, you know, just boys being boys, just normal dude things. What? It's just friends. Subaru then says that part of him turned black as he looks downwards, which he's talking about his leg, of course, and this shocks the other characters, but Subaru is more or less already dealing with it. It's just part of the absolute chaos that is his life. So much stuff has happened ever since he was transported into this world. His leg growing a little bit black, it doesn't even bother him anymore. It's just on the minor list of annoyances. The scene ends with Al saying that Emilia is a little bit too cheerful for someone who's in enemy's hands, which is completely understandable. Regulus is such a good husband and he treats his wives so well that maybe Emilia is sort of rethinking this whole Subaru love thing. On Emilia's side, the wife is completely appalled that Emilia actually came back, and this is very revealing of the treatment that these poor women have went through. She was actually willing to just accept her end peacefully, but at least for somebody else to manage to escape, to be free, to actually have happiness. So it's here that we really start to notice, if last episode wasn't enough, if it wasn't explicit enough, in this episode we really start to see just how desperate and conformed and given up on life these women are. We get some shots of the chaos throughout the city, and I have to say this, I have to address this, because last episode I said that one of those tiny Digimon looking thingies that Capella spawned or transformed someone into, someone very unfortunate might I add, I said one of them looked quite cute, and seeing the cute little Digimon eating flesh made me rethink my statement, so I retract that statement. It is no longer cute, it is quite scary, but still a little bit cute. Subaru Holmes is once again on the case, as it is elementary, my dear Julius, as the timing of the Watergate opening does not make sense with the movements of the witch cultists. And once again, I will not say anything, I will not point fingers, but I will say, think about the first few seconds of the episode and the very conspicuous head nod that Al makes, and perhaps maybe you will reach a conclusion, which I am not guiding you towards, I am merely presenting facts. And so they decide to turn the tables on the witch cultists and actually use the authority of wrath for something good. Since the authority can amplify feelings, and it is currently amplifying despair and anger and sadness and all of these negative emotions, if they manage to flip it and instead make everybody have positive emotions, then those will also be amplified by the authority of wrath. This is obviously easier said than done, because in order for them to flip their emotions, the people need a good speech. They need someone to hype them up and make them trust that the witch cultists will be eliminated and that they will be safe. They need someone who can connect with them on a human level and at the same time reassure them that everything will be fine. We go down the list of characters and things are not looking good. Anastasia apparently does not have enough clout to pull this off. Krush is not able to do a speech, either emotionally or physically, due to her state currently. Julius just does not have the brass balls, he does not have the fortitude in the nether region, and also the verbal ability to pull off such an amazing speech. And so, sponsored by Nike, Garfield just goes and says to Subaru, just do it, man, just do it. They try to convince Subaru to do it because he's the more qualified person too, not only because he has this very scrappy underdog relatability, which they don't outright say, but it is implied, and also in terms of qualifications, he is the only person to beat an archbishop. In order to really push him down the line and convince him, Julius reminds Subaru and the audience of those episodes all the way back in season 1, where Subaru made an absolute fool of himself in front of everybody in the royal capital, and also where Julius just completely whooped him. And I know what Julius is trying to come across here. He's more or less trying to tell Subaru how much he's grown and how much he respects him now and what an inspiring story Subaru is, but it kind of comes off as a bit funny and condescending, like, hey, remember when I whooped you? Such good times. Dubious motivations aside from Julius, Al has the complete opposite take. Al says that Subaru shouldn't do it. The world is a bit defined by people who are and who aren't, and some people just aren't meant to carry that much weight. And Al says that he himself and Subaru are not those type of people. Al further reinforces his argument by appealing to Subaru's position as Emilia's knight, saying that he should put off everybody else and focus on Emilia only. That's what he does with Priscilla. To do otherwise would be to have heroic delusions, and his losses wouldn't be just his losses anymore. It would be everybody's losses. It would be to put a huge burden on him. I really like Al's presence in this scene, and once again I'm going to repeat myself a little bit, but even with the material they cut from episode 1, I think it is quite clear by now that in season 3 the main cast of characters really respect Subaru for what he has done, and so to have a dissenting voice in the middle of this argument is very important, because Subaru's doubts and insecurities usually come from within. He doubts himself, he thinks he is not worthy, he thinks he is not enough. Usually the other people believe in him. Emilia believed in him until he broke like 20 promises in a row. Ram believed in him, Ram reluctantly believes in him, Julius also believes in him, a lot of people believe in him, and usually the doubts come from within, but this time it's very important, the doubts are also externalized, coming from Al. So not everybody believes in him, and now he has an opportunity to prove Al wrong and also to prove himself wrong, to have these heroic delusions which he aspires to. We then get a few flashbacks of scenes from the past, and also to really hammer home the point that these heroic delusions are something that Subaru already proposed himself to do all the way back in season 1 with Rem. So I really don't like flashbacks, I could have done without it, but I do understand that for more casual viewers who aren't as plugged into Rezero as I am, people that perhaps have watched season 1 like all the way back 5 years ago or whenever it came out, this is probably a relatively short and harmless flashback. I still don't really like them, but I don't mind them. Subaru explicitly states as much, saying that he has already made the decision of being a hero 1 year ago, obviously referring to the scene with Rem. And as a little bit of a side note, as someone who's currently reading Arc 7 of Rezero, these hero themes are just beautiful. Subaru accepts and decides that he will make the grand empowering speech, and Julius will not laugh or even shake his head while he's doing it, which is obvious as Julius quite respects Subaru, but Subaru is still traumatized from season 1. We quickly switch back to Emilia as she's having a conversation with the wife, who says she will not be tempted by hope. And this is quite a revealing statement, where these wives have been so numbed down that they're just waiting for the end. And then she explains her tragic story, where we discover that Regulus is even more demented. It's like every single episode we discover more from him, and it's even worse than the previous one. Just how low can this guy get? I think personally he will get quite low. And then this incredibly tense and tragic conversation is interrupted by the most nonchalant and casual as Subaru is testing the microphone. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole speech line by line because it is quite long, but I will say I did revisit my own review of volume 18 from the light novel, and if you're an anime only, you cannot watch it yet because it does have some spoilers if you're just watching the anime as of the time of this episode, and I'm like the worst YouTuber ever. What YouTuber says to their viewer to not watch their other videos? I'm really not good at the YouTube thing, but besides that, it's all love from me. Anyways, but I watched it to revisit my own thoughts, and I think that my thoughts have stayed largely the same, which is perhaps a little bit controversial for Rezero fans. The speech starts by Subaru calming the people down by saying that they are not part of the witch cult, which gives them a moment of tranquility, but then the emotion goes back down as Subaru says the danger is still at large, the witch cultists are still here. And it's from this moment onwards that I think Subaru goes a little bit overboard with it. The point is Subaru is trying to be as relatable as possible and being vulnerable and exposing himself, and there are a lot of moments of vulnerability in Rezero where a character just breaks down and lets it all out, including the ugly thoughts he may have about himself, which is not something new. If you're in Arc 5 then we have seen a few of these by now, but I think there is a very powerful distinction between having this intimate moment with someone who is close to you and just saying it out loud on a megaphone. What Subaru is consciously or unconsciously trying to do is to pile on the negative emotion to appeal at relatability and then give them the moment of hope at the end. But I think this is one of those situations where you're trying to fly the plane very close to water, and I think at some point he went underwater and it was just too much. He's saying that he's weak, he's nobody, he wants to run away. It's like, bro, at some point we're all suffering here. Maybe just give me a few words of happiness or hope or enjoyment. I think you're going a bit too deep. I was curious if the voice acting was going to make me change my views on this scene, and it didn't. It actually reinforced it because the voice actor is so good. His voice is trembling. You can hear that he's nervous. He's not entirely sure of what he's saying, and that makes it even more of a problem because I don't think he comes off as reliable or as heroic at all. And by the end, where he says that he's the one who took down Sloth, and he's going to win, and he's going to protect the people from the witch cultists, I think it feels a little bit of an empty promise because he has done so many ad hominems against himself that he does not feel like a reliable narrator. I like the idea of the speech, and I quite enjoyed the high moments of the speech, especially voice acted. I think the delivery was phenomenal. However, I think Subaru went a little bit too overboard with the self-deprecation and actually harmed the own content of the speech because it makes possibly the people trust him less. Obviously this is fiction and we can see that that is not the case. The people love Subaru, love the speech. Everybody, including Priscilla, which by the way quite surprising, they quite enjoyed Subaru's rambling, but to me personally, I think in a situation like this, where you're nervous and you're scared and you're incredibly tense, you don't know what's going to happen next, having a guy just say on your ear, oh, I'm useless and I'm weak and I'm nobody, and it's just, bro, just tone it down, give me some reassurance. And I know that my opinion is extremely unpopular among Rezero fans, and that's fine, not everybody needs to share the same sentiment or look at the scene the same way, but to me personally, I always put myself in the shoes of the people of Pristella, as if I'm a normal civilian listening to this, and that's why I have such a hard time with it. And when he says at the end that he is the one who defeated Betelgeuse, I wish that he just stacked up more on that to make it even more impressive, saying that he has the Sword Devil with him, that he has the finest of knights with him, that there's a bunch of royal candidates in the city, really make it almost a stupid idea that they could fail, which is obviously not true because the witch cultists are pretty strong themselves, but still give the people hope, even if it's a little bit delusional, as are his heroic delusions. I wish that he would just really make a more compelling case as to why they can trust him and why they will not fail. Once again, leave your thoughts below to see if anime people have a different opinion, because I think it will be largely the same as a light novel where people just mostly disagree with me, even if they sort of see my point. But just let me know what you think of this speech. In terms of an adaptation, I will say the voice acting as usual is just godly. I think the performance was absolutely extraordinary. I have nothing to add. My problem itself comes from the script, which comes from the light novel, and they adapted it, unfortunately, too faithfully for me. So it's just, it is what it is. Emilia was so hyped up by this speech by her loving knight that she decided she will marry another dude. So that's how much she liked the speech. Jokes aside, it's clear now that Emilia is hyped up and ready to strike back against Regulus and protect the wives who desperately need somebody to fight for them. So our main heroine is about to do main heroine stuff, and that is very cool. Or maybe she'll just get married to Regulus, become the main villain of the show, and make ReZero just a bad prank after all. Who knows? That would be a super cool storyline for like an April Fool's prank or something, where Emilia just actually marries Regulus and she's just like, huh, Subaru, you with your weird eyes, I much prefer this albino hunk who mistreats women. He's much more my type. In the aftermath of the speech, Subaru seems a little bit unconvinced that his speech was as good as it needed to be, but the other characters seem quite impressed with it, including Julius, Anastasia, and Ricardo. They praise him in sometimes quite a dubious way, saying that he's quite a natural agitator, which I completely agree with, and then saying that he always seduces ladies, land dragons, and even little girls, which once again, FBI, open up! And then, much like Subaru's speech, where we get the big climax at the end, we get the man who is known for climaxing big, Reinhardt. Wait, what? So yes, after staring down his own father for 2 or 3 episodes straight, our Sword Saint is finally here, ready to be useful, which is much needed in quite this dire situation. So overall, thoughts on the episode: I quite like the orange hue that they're now having, so we can see the passage of time, and this is just a day, so we can see how overwhelming this would be for the characters in real time. I quite enjoyed the shift of points of view of the various characters, especially during the speech, where we can see where each character is at and how they're reacting to the incredible verbal performance that is being relayed to them through the city megaphone. And I think that they're doing quite a good job, because Arc 5 has a lot of characters, a lot of main characters, important characters, and characters that are doing different things simultaneously. So I think that the adaptation is doing quite a good job at relaying to the audience what each character is doing and how they're progressing in their own side quests. Regarding the speech, I don't want people to have the wrong idea. I don't hate it, I don't dislike it. I just think that it becomes quite bleak halfway through, and it could be a little bit more hopeful much sooner. I think that it's very much in character, in Subaru's character, who always wears his vulnerability on his sleeve, sometimes even as a weapon. And so I think that the speech fits him, fits the scene, fits the moment. However, I think it could be just a little bit better, a little bit more hopeful halfway through. I don't dislike it, I like the scene, I just wish that it could be improved on. This episode marks a turning point in Arc 5, in which after a big emotional speech, it is now time to actually fulfill the promises that were made to the poor civilians of Pristella. Now that we're all hyped up, it's time to kick some cheeks of witch cultists, which I hope they do kick them hard. So as usual, be sure to leave a comment with your thoughts, be sure to leave a like and subscribe twice, or no, hold up, if you subscribe twice you won't subscribe, so just subscribe once. If you have another account, subscribe with that one as well, that would be quite useful. But anyway, see you guys on the next video, and ciao!